The galaxy never understood why human diplomats always spoke in whispers, why their ships moved in silence, why their weapons made no sound. Then the day came when the Crawl fired their new superweapon, and the universe finally learned the terrible truth. Humanity hadn't been hiding in the shadows out of fear. They'd been standing guard over something far worse. And when the screaming started, only the humans knew how to make it stop. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The air in the Galactic Accord chamber hummed with tension, the scent of ozone and alien pheromones mixing uneasily. Ambassador Leora Vex adjusted the silver cuffs of her form-fitting diplomatic suit, the sapphire hue of her skin shimmering under the chamber's crystalline lights. Across the polished obsidian table, the human delegation sat unervingly still, a stark contrast to the usual chaos of interstellar negotiations. Ambassador Cole, Leora began, her melodic Illyrian voice carefully modulated. The proposed trade restrictions would cripple 3 developing systems. Surely we can find compromise. Daniel Cole, the lead human negotiator, leaned back in his chair. His gray eyes reflected the holographic star maps floating above the table, but his expression gave nothing away. At 42, his salt and pepper hair and weathered face spoke of experience, but it was his silence that set Leora's nerves on edge. The Crawl ambassador, a hulking reptilian named Vorik, slammed his clawed fist on the table. Enough human word games. Your demands are unreasonable. Cole's fingers tapped a slow rhythm against his datapad. 1, 2, 3 beats of perfect silence. Leora's implant pinged a warning as she noticed the other human delegates mirroring Cole's stillness. No shifting in seats. No whispered consultations. Even their breathing seemed synchronized. Ambassador, Leora prompted, her voice suddenly too loud in the growing quiet. Your response? Across the table, Cole tilted his head slightly, like a scientist observing an interesting specimen. His lips curved in a smile that never reached his eyes. The chamber lights flickered. Vorik growled, his crest flaring. More human theatrics? Then the lights died completely, plunging the chamber into darkness, broken only by the emergency glow strips along the floor. Leora's night vision activated automatically, painting the scene in shades of blue. She expected chaos, shouting, movement, alarms. Instead, the humans remained perfectly still in their seats, their faces eerily calm in the dim light. Cole's voice cut through the dark, smooth as polished steel. Rule 1 of diplomacy, Ambassador Vex. He tapped his wrist display, and a main hologram flared to life above them. When words stopped working, the projection showed Crawl warships crossing marked human borders. Then Xinthian Laboratories is experimenting with forbidden biotech. Finally, Illyrian spy drones are hovering near Earth's defense grids. Actions speak. Leora's stomach dropped as she recognized classified operations from 3 different species. Operations no outsider should have known about. Vorik surged to his feet, his armored scales scraping against the table. This is deception. Those ships were on training exercises. Cole didn't blink. And the bioweapons? The surveillance? His gaze locked onto Leora. Shall we discuss Illyria's little extracurricular activities? The emergency lights chose that moment to return, revealing the human delegation standing in perfect unison. Their movements were so synchronized, so precise, it sent a shiver down Leora's spine. Cole adjusted his cufflinks, the silver eagle insignia on his jacket catching the light. You have 6 hours to recall your forces. Stand down your projects. Withdraw your spies. He nodded to his aide, who slid a single data chip across the table. After that, we stopped talking. The chamber doors hissed open automatically as the humans turned to leave. Leora noticed the armed guards outside weren't human. They were Xerithian mercenaries, their weapons trained on nothing, as if expecting an invisible threat. Just before the door sealed, Cole looked back. For the first time, His expression held something resembling pity. "Play the chip," he said softly, "and pray you never see what comes after the silence." Chapter 2. The emergency lighting cast long shadows across the Accord chamber as Leora snatched up the data chip, her sapphire fingers trembling against its smooth surface. Vorik's massive claws flexed near her elbow, his reptilian eyes narrowed to slits. "Human deception," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "They hack our systems, then make threats." Leora's aide, Jaren, inserted the chip into his datapad with shaking hands. His antennae twitched violently as holograms bloomed above the table. Not just the earlier footage, but new images. Human ships patrolling the Crawl border, intercepting Xinthian probes, shadowing Illyrian vessels, all without ever being detected. "That's impossible," Jaren whispered. "Our sensors would have." The projection changed. A starfield shimmered. Then hundreds, thousands of human warships materialized from nothing. Not decloaking, not emerging from warp, simply appearing, their silver eagle insignias glowing ominously in the dark. Vorik's scales rattled. "This is some trick." Leora's implant pinged. An urgent message from Illyrian High Command scrolling across her vision. "Recall all deep-range drones immediately. Confirm receipt." She looked up just as the chamber doors hissed open. Commander Hale stood silhouetted in the doorway, her black tactical gear absorbing the dim light. At 38, the human special ops officer moved with lethal grace, her sharp features set in grim amusement. 4 hours, 53 minutes, she said, tapping her wrist display. The numbers glowed crimson. Clock's ticking. Vorik lunged forward, his claws extending. "You dare threaten the Crawl Imperium?" Hale didn't flinch. Not a threat. She nodded to the hologram of the Phantom Fleet. A receipt. Leora stepped between them, her silver suit shimmering. "What is the silence protocol?" Hale's smile didn't reach her cold blue eyes. "Our cease and desist order." She tossed a smaller chip to Jaren. "That one's just for you, Sparkles. Play it somewhere, soundproof." As Hale turned to leave, Leora caught her arm. The human's muscles tensed like coiled steel beneath her grip. "Why show us this now?" Hale leaned close, her whisper carrying the weight of a detonation countdown. "Because what's coming makes our fleet look friendly." The doors sealed behind her, leaving silence thicker than the vacuum of space. Jaren's datapad beeped. The second chip's contents now displayed a single line of text. "They hear you when you speak." Vorik snarled, smashing a chair against the wall. "We should glass their homeworld for this insult." Leora stared at the message, her blood turning to ice. Something in the static of the hologram caught her eye, a distortion at the edge of the human fleet's formation. She zoomed in. The ships weren't just patrolling. They were containing something. And whatever it was trying to get out. Chapter 3. Leora's private shuttle hummed through the diplomatic quarters' restricted airspace, its stealth systems engaged. Jaren's fingers danced across the holo display, enhancing the distorted section of the human fleet formation. "There," he whispered, his antennae vibrating. "That's not a sensor ghost. It's moving against the stellar currents." The image resolved into a massive, amorphous shadow pressing against an invisible barrier. Human ships positioned like a containment grid around it. Leora's sapphire skin paled. "Reverse the feed," she ordered. As the recording rewound, the truth became undeniable. The human fleet hadn't appeared to demonstrate strength. They'd mobilized to reinforce whatever was holding that thing back. Yad Schwalodhart. High Command says recall orders are being issued, but the shuttle's comm crackled to life. "Ambassador Vex." Hale's voice carried an edge Leora hadn't heard before. "Change of plans. You're coming with me." The view screen flickered to life, showing Hale's grim face. Behind her, human technicians scrambled in a dimly lit control room, their movements urgent. "Why?" Leora demanded. Hale's eyes flicked to something off-screen. "Because in 3 hours, 17 minutes, the Crawl are going to test their new resonance cannon." A muscle twitched in her jaw. "And when they do, they're going to knock a hole right through our containment field." Jaren's datapad clattered to the floor. "That's impossible." The Resonance Project is classified beyond. Beyond what? Your pay grade. Hale's smile was razor thin. We know more about your secrets than you do. The screen split, showing Vorik aboard a Krull battleship, barking orders. And right now, your lizard friend is about to doom us all. Leora's shuttle lurched as external guidance took control. Through the viewport, a black stealth cruiser materialized alongside them, its running lights dark. Hale's ship. Jaren gripped his seat. We can't trust them. Leora watched the shadowy mass in the recording pulse rhythmically, almost like it was listening. We never had a choice, she murmured. As the docking clamps engaged, Hale's final transmission cut through the cabin. Welcome to the quietest war in history. The airlock hissed open, revealing Hale in full tactical gear, her gloved hand resting on a sidearm. Rule 1 of the Silence Protocol, she said, stepping aside to let them board. No more questions until we're secure. Behind her, the words acoustic containment chamber glowed red above a vault-like door. Leora realized with dawning horror why the humans had built their ships so quietly, and what they'd been silencing all along. Chapter 4. The vault door sealed behind them with a soundless thud that Leora felt in her bones. The acoustic chamber's walls absorbed every whisper, every breath, creating an eerie vacuum of silence. Hale led them to a circular table where a holographic star map pulsed with crimson warnings. Soundproof, Hale said, her voice oddly flat in the dead air. Only place we can talk safely now. Jaren's antennae twitched nervously as he examined the display. These energy readings, that's not any known matter signature. Hale tapped the table, zooming in on the writhing shadow from Leora's recording. Meet the neighbors. Or what's left of one, anyway. Leora's sapphire skin prickled. You named it. We name all existential threats, Hale said matter-of-factly. Makes them easier to track in briefing rooms. She swiped her hand through the hologram, pulling up historical data. First contact was 2147, when the Einstein array detected gravitational anomalies near Pluto. The projection showed early human ships constructing a massive latticework structure around nothing. Yada front. You build a cage around empty space? Hale's smile didn't reach her eyes. Not empty, just phased. The neighbors exist in a quantum state we can barely perceive, vibrating between dimensions. She tapped her temple, and they're attracted to coherent energy patterns, like FTL comms, warp signatures, or... Leora's stomach dropped. Resonance cannons. The hologram changed to show a Krull battleship powering its new weapon, the same ship Vor commanded. A countdown glowed beneath it. 2 hours, 47 minutes, and 33 seconds. Hale crossed her arms. When that cannon fires, it'll create a standing wave across 11 dimensions. Basically a dinner bell for the neighbors. Jaren's voice cracked. Why haven't you warned the galaxy? We tried. Hale pulled up centuries of failed attempts. Human envoys being laughed out of councils. Their warnings dismissed as paranoia. So we went to Plan B, controlling all FTL tech development, sabotaging dangerous research, maintaining the Silence Protocol. Her gaze locked onto Leora, and containing breaches when they happen. Leora studied the containment grid around the shadow. How many have gotten out? Hale's silence was answer enough. An alarm flashed on the table, the Krull ship's power level spiking. Vorik's face appeared on a comm screen, his reptilian eyes blazing with triumph. Human deception ends today, he roared. We will prove your fleet is a... The transmission cut abruptly as Hale severed the connection. 2 hours left. She moved to a weapons locker, tossing Leora a sleek silver earpiece. You're coming with me. Leora caught the device. Where? Hale's grin was all teeth. To teach some lizards why humans developed mute buttons. The locker hissed open, revealing black combat suits with the same light-absorbing properties as Hale's gear. Leora realized with dawning horror that every piece of human technology, their ships, their weapons, even their clothing, had been designed for one purpose. Silence wasn't just their protocol. It was their armor. Chapter 5. The stealth cruiser Whisper moved through space like a shadow, its engines emitting less radiation than a dying star. Leora adjusted her borrowed black combat suit, the material unnervingly cool against her sapphire skin. Across the dimly lit cabin, Hale checked a pulse rifle with practiced efficiency. How close can we get before they detect us? Leora whispered. Hades simirkit, tapink hadeav. The silver comm piece translated her subvocalizations into audible speech, another silent human technology. Their sensors can't find what doesn't make noise. We'll be inside their shields before they blink. Jaren fumbled with his earpiece, his antennae twitching nervously. This violates 17 interstellar treaties. And Vorik's little science project violates 23, Hale countered. The ship's display zoomed in on the Kraul battleship's resonance cannon, a monstrous coil of supercharged plasma. But only one of those violations in civilizations. The Whisper shuddered as it latched onto the Kraul vessel's hull with magnetic clamps. Hale moved to the airlock, her rifle slung low. Rule 1 of boarding ops, silence, Leora finished, adjusting her grip on the unfamiliar human pistol. Hale's approving nod was the last thing Leora saw before the lights switched to infrared. The infiltration was terrifyingly efficient. Human shock troops melted from the shadows, disabling Kraul sentries with precise nerve strikes. Leora watched in awe as Hale bypassed security grids using nothing but hand signals. They found Vorik on the bridge, his massive frame hunched over the weapon controls. Powering sequence initiated, a Kraul technician announced. Resonance test in 90 seconds. Hale stepped from the shadows, her rifle raised. Stand down, Vorik. The Kraul ambassador whirled, his crest flaring in rage. You! His claws extended toward a console. I'll show you what Kraul engineering can. Leora's pistol barked once, severing the control cables. The bridge lights flickered as systems failed. Vorik snarled. Traitor! You fool! Leora hissed. The humans aren't containing ships out there. They're containing what those ships woke up. Hale tossed a data pad to the deck. It projected the writhing shadow mass against the containment field. This is what happens when you poke the neighbors. The Kraul crew recoiled as the footage showed the entity pulsing in time with their resonance tests. Vorik's scales paled. Impossible. A proximity alert screamed. The view screen showed the human fleet's formation buckling as the shadow pressed against it. Hale's comm crackled. Whisper, this is command. Breach imminent. Fall back. She grabbed Leora's arm. We're out of time. As they retreated, Vorik bellowed after them. You can't just leave. Hale didn't look back. Watch us. The Whisper detached just as the first tendril of darkness pierced the containment field. On the bridge display, Leora saw the Kraul battleship's comms light up with frantic signals, all going unanswered. The humans had gone silent again, and this time she understood why. Chapter 6. The Whisper's engines remained at zero thrust as the ship drifted silently away from the unfolding catastrophe. Leora pressed against the viewport, her breath fogging the reinforced glass as the first tendril of darkness made contact with the Kraul battleship. It's not attacking, she whispered. Hale's fingers flew across a holographic interface, activating passive sensors. It's listening. The visualization screen showed the shadow mass pulsing in rhythmic waves, matching the Kraul ship's still active resonance cannon frequency. The alien entity began to change, its amorphous edges sharpening into jagged, geometric patterns that hurt Leora's eyes to follow. Jaren's voice cracked. It's learning their technology. Hale slammed an emergency override. Command, this is Whisper. Phase breach confirmed. Execute blackout protocol. A shudder passed through the ship as every non-essential system powered down. The only illumination came from the horrifying spectacle outside. The Kraul vessel's hull beginning to fold inward at impossible angles, like space itself was crumpling around it. Vorik's final transmission burst through before comms cut entirely. Get us out. The walls are, then silence. The view screen flickered to life with a feed from the human fleet. Admiral Carter's stern face appeared, her silver hair pulled back tightly. Alliance vessels, this is command. The neighbor has breached containment. Silence protocol is now in full effect. The display is split to show similar messages being transmitted across the galaxy. Human operatives delivering warnings to every major species simultaneously. They just broke 2 centuries of secrecy. Leora watched as Illyrian and Xinthian ships abruptly changed course, heeding the warnings. But the Crawl reinforcements continued advancing, their comms presumably jammed by the entity. "We have to help them," Leora said. Hale's laugh was bitter. "With what? The thing out there just turned a battleship into origami." A new alert flashed. The neighbor was extending tendrils toward the nearest inhabited system. Jarens antenne dropt. It's following the resonance trail, straight to Crawl Prime. Hale suddenly straightened, her eyes locking onto Leora. "Unless we get a better signal to chase." She pulled up schematics of the Whisper's experimental drive, a prototype quantum resonator. The same technology that had first attracted the neighbors centuries ago. Leora understood immediately. "You want to bait it? Right into a black hole." Hale's grin was all teeth. "Humans have been preparing for this since before your species discovered fire." The comm crackled again. Admiral Carter's voice was grim. "Whisper, you are cleared for Operation Siren Song. Godspeed." As Hale moved to the pilot's seat, Leora caught her arm. "You knew this would happen." Hale's expression softened. "We hoped it wouldn't." The engines hummed to life, the first sound the Whisper had made in hours. Outside, the neighbors' tendrils twitched in their direction. The hunt was on. Chapter 7. The Whisper's quantum resonator whined to life, its harmonics tuned to a frequency that made Leora's teeth ache. Outside the viewport, the neighbors' tendrils snapped toward them like a predator scenting blood. "Hold on," Hale muttered, her hands flying across the controls. "This'll be rough." The ship lurched as space itself seemed to warp around them. Jaren gripped his console, his antennae vibrating wildly. "It's rewriting local physics." Leora watched in horrified fascination as the starfield stretched and twisted behind them, the pursuing entity folding reality in its wake. The Crawl homeworld's defense platforms came into view, powerful enough to shatter moons, utterly useless against this. Hale opened a fleet-wide channel, breaking the silence protocol for the first time in human history. "All vessels, this is Whisper. Clear our trajectory to the black hole. Do not, repeat, do not engage the neighbor." Admiral Carter's response was instantaneous. "Acknowledged." "Godspeed, Whisper." The comm cut out as the neighbor's leading tendril grazed their shields. Every screen aboard the ship flickered with static, displaying the same impossible symbol, a shifting fractal that burned itself into Leora's vision. "It's trying to communicate," Jaren breathed. Hale's hands never stopped moving. "And we're not sticking around to chat." The black hole loomed ahead, its event horizon shimmering with gravitational lensing. The Whisper's hull groaned under the strain. Warning alarms flashed as the neighbor's tendrils wrapped around them, dragging against their momentum. "Now!" Hale slammed the resonator to full power. The universe screamed. For one terrifying moment, Leora saw through the neighbor's eyes, a kaleidoscope of dimensions, countless civilizations rising and falling across the cosmic web, all unaware of the predators lurking between the folds of reality. Then the Whisper's emergency warp engaged, flinging them clear as the neighbor's mass distorted toward the black hole's pull. The last tendril clung desperately to their hull, until Hale activated the silent kill switch humanity had planted in every FTL drive centuries ago. A pulse of perfect silence. The neighbor recoiled, its form unraveling as the black hole's gravity took hold. The Whisper hurtled away, its systems rebooting in ragged bursts. On the view screen, the entity's final moments played out in eerie silence. A cosmic predator dragged, kicking, and screaming into oblivion. Hale collapsed in her chair, her hands shaking. Protocol complete. Leora stared at the now empty starfield where Crawl Prime still shone, untouched. You could have let it happen. After what they did, Hale met her gaze, exhaustion and something like pity in her eyes. That's the difference between us and the neighbor's ambassador. We protect even those who don't deserve it. The calm crackled to life with voices from a dozen species, Crawl included, all asking the same question in different tongues. What now? Hale smiled wearily and tapped her earpiece, activating the galaxy-wide channel humanity had kept dormant for 200 years. Now, she said, we teach you how to be quiet. As the first interstellar silence protocol training programs began transmitting, Leora finally understood the terrifying truth. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their patience. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.